Solving the problem is easy. Talking in front of them is hard. And as we know it, speaking in front of people is one of the hardest things you will ever have to learn to do, especially if you're stressing about the entire interview process. Now, let's say this. You have made it past the technical screen and you've landed a take-home problem. The company has asked for a presentation of it when you come in next. I want you to learn how to make a compelling presentation as you talk through your decisions of the take-home problem. And if you are wanting help with your interviewing process, then I encourage you to reach out. I've created the Coding Career Fastlane to help you accelerate your career wherever you're at in the process. Now, in this video, I won't cover all the specific tips that we talked about in the presenting 6 tips to presenting before, so go check those out. I have brought a couple of the sub-points in here to help out, but ultimately that video would still be good to check out. And we won't cover code specifics in this one unless you guys specifically request for how to show snippets of code and how to talk to them on their own. That can be another video. So let's jump into today's content. First and foremost, before we can talk about how do you build this actual deck out and the specifics of it, we need to first prepare. You need to have details down pat in preparing. So what does that mean? You need to know if you follow the directions. If you haven't been cleared on anything and you have some assumptions, make sure you ask the clarifying questions to check those assumptions. And have you checked the background of the company and you know everything that's going to be relevant going into your take-home problem? Because if they're a financial services company and you've done some financial services take-home stuff, you might want to know if that relates back to their business model and how it interacts with what you've done. And fourth in the details is making sure you do a little bit more than the bare minimum. I say a little bit because a little bit goes a long way, such as adding testing to your code, for example. But within preparing, I want you to know for the solution, what you build, you don't need to stress over it. There's finding the right answer. There is no such thing as the perfect answer, because no matter what you're going to do, you might psych yourself out. So I encourage you not to, because what they're looking for is someone that can get the task done, which you showed, someone that can learn new things on the spot, potentially what you've had to do, and articulate the decisions they've made by making this presentation. Now, a couple things in the preparing section before we actually talk about the specifics of the deck is you should know your audience and your settings ahead of time. So if you can't, ask, is this going to be a non-technical or technical person you're presenting this take-home problem to? Because that will change up the specifics of how you talk about each slide based off their background, whether it's technical or not. Also, are you going to be standing in the room or sitting? Because that will change how your voice projects and how easily it is to exude good body confidence. Are you standing in the room to present, or are you sitting? This is a great question to know, because this will tell you, is it going to be a little bit tougher to have good voice, good tone, good presence in the room? Because it's a lot easier when you're standing to have that presence. It's a lot harder, and you're going to be more conscious of it if you're sitting down. And last but not least, make sure you know if it's a small meeting room or a large, because that'll also affect how you interact with the presentation with the people in the room. Because if it's small and tight knit, you have to be extra cautious of if your tone's way too high or way too low. You probably want it in a good middle. But if you're in a really large room, you're going to probably have to amplify your tone and your presence a little bit. Now let's talk about the goals for this take-home presentation. 1, that you've completed the requirements as understood by both parties. 2, you make the audience understand your choices and how they've all come together. 3, display your solution confidently. If we accomplish those 3 things in this presentation, you will have an extremely successful experience in this presentation. Let's talk about what to do first with this deck. Now we're about to get into the actual first slide, but when this deck first comes up, you have about 1 minute once this presentation starts to engage and interact with the audience with your message. Now in the other video, I've talked about 3 ways, but there's a 4th that we're going to add for today's. And the 3 ways for the 4th are the prop, basically something 10 seconds to capture their attention, an analogy, maybe a life story, analogy back to it, a drawing, some jokes is the 3rd one, probably at your own expense is best, but those aren't really the best here, because when you're going to give a presentation for an interview, a question is a better engager for you. And here's why. Now, also I want you at this point to interact with this video and us here and leave your comment below on what question you would ask here after I give you some tidbits on this. Now, if you do these questions right, all right, This becomes the blueprint of what to talk to later on in your presentation. And note, you can always ask this ahead of time if you so wish. I personally like to ask it on the spot because it shows a little bit how much more dynamic I can be. First question maybe you can ask is, hey, what are you looking for in this take-home solution or this take-home presentation? Now that might be a little bit too open-ended, and that's fine. So what we could do is we could refine it a little bit to say, okay, what do you look for in a presentation like this? Why I made my decisions, or the code I've created? Now, asking a question like this that's a little more refined will basically give you 3 options and ultimately give you direction. 1, they're going to tell you that it's your choices they want to look at. 2, they're going to tell you potentially it's the code. Or 3, they're going to give you a totally different direction. Now, I get there's a 4th and a 5th because they could say both or none. There might be a couple other, but realistically, those are the main 3 you're going to see out of this. And that's the beauty of a question like this. The blueprint will help you know how to interact with the rest of the session. And so they're engaging with you, you end up engaging right back with them. Now let's talk about the deck. First and foremost, the first slide should be all about why. If any of you watch the Simon Sinek videos from the TED Talks, I encourage you to go check it out. I'll try to leave a link down below. But the first slide should be about why they should care, why you are here, why any of this matters. This will change and pertain different in each situation, but you want to get them on board with why this all matters and why we're in the room together. Because it might be they should care because you're the person they should hire, or this is the place you want to be. Now, granted, those are some whats, but you tell me why you believe this all matters. That's the first slide. I like to open up on something like that because it starts with the why. You create a slide for each direction or step they had you. I was working with a student recently that had 6 different directions, like key points to accomplish in the app, and so we made 6 different slides or 1 slide for each. And each slide goes like this. You need to have a why in there. Talk about the decision you made. Why did you make it? Potentially, why did you decide NPM request over NPM Axios, or potentially maybe Node Fetch? Either way, having an answer that is needed. It's a terrible idea not to have an answer like that. Potentially also talking about your facts that you have, the thought process you went through, the decision-making process, your research process, or your experiences and how this influenced your decisions. Also on this slide, you talk about the how. Okay, how did you get it all working? Did you have to Google for it? Previous experiences? Did you have previous knowledge from some type of course you took? Maybe a conference? Talk about the how, and then ultimately the outcome. Maybe put a snippet of code, a picture of the working product. That will do well. Ultimately, in each decision or each direction you get with these slides, you are doing the decision, how you got it working, and the outcome. And then you come to the last slide we build, actually 2 more slides, a solution slide and a summary slide. Now in the solution slide, this is where you give a demo if they like, but you show them how all the pieces fit now of the puzzle. And what did you learn in the process you talk about? And also, what would you make better? And what would you do thinking towards the future? Because those are good questions to show people that you are thinking about. Now we have another slide called the summary slide. It's the last slide, and here's where you talk about the experience of everything working with this team, and you have a chance to then pitch yourself for their team and then open it up to questions. Ultimately, the format is why you're here, giving the steps and directions and points. Final tips. The stage and room presence is absolutely key. So make sure you're projecting great body language and you're paying attention to your voice pitch and level. Another tip for you is confidence. Be confident in what you have done and what you've selected, because ultimately confidence is knowing the outcome. If you just know the outcome of what you already did is what you're going to show, you can be confident in the work you've created. The last tip for you is being prepared. One way to be extra prepared in this tip is to have a backup plan. What do I mean by that? Record a demo of the visuals so that you can talk to them in the interview. I've had it happen to me before where a MP4 file has saved my life in a demo where they didn't know I overlaid the website with the actual video, and then I was able to talk straight to the video when I was demoing the site. Now, in summary, preparing thoroughly, engaging the audience to get your blueprint, and having a process and a story in your deck will ultimately help you share the final solution and successfully impress that employer. Now, if you feel like you want help accelerating your coding career or on getting jobs, and if they ask you to do presentations such as this, then sign up for the Coding Career, because I'm here to help you. It's a service that is built to help you whether you're in the beginning career or advanced, and it helps you put a plan together to join the fast lane in your coding career and accelerate it to where you want it to be ultimately. Now, I have some free sessions down below. I'm offering up lately 30 minutes free to anyone who's willing to chat about their situation and see how I can help you. So check that link out down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.